I'm Jonathan Waugh. I'm chair of the IFRA IOFI Sustainability Committee. The Sustainability Committee looks after a number of different parts. The key part is actually the sustainability report. The first one was issued in 2021 and a new one was issued in 2023. And what are we trying to do in the report? Well, we make reference to a charter, sustainability charter, with 5 key items. And we have 136 companies who've signed up to the engagements in that charter. Then more mechanically, if in a sense, what do we do as a committee? We're providing guidance to companies, company members, IFRA, IOFI. We also follow, this is a fast-moving area, and we try to follow evolving legislation in the area in order to, give guidance to companies about how to interpret this legislation, how to respond to it. What we're also trying to do now is to try to find some what we call KPIs, key performance indicators, some markers which indicate how are we doing as an industry. So 2 which we used in our last report were EcoVadis scores. So EcoVadis is an organization that scores people broadly on their sustainability performance. And the other one is looking at sustainable palm use. So RSPO, Roundtable for Sustainable Palm, people provide data to them about how much sustainable palm they buy versus ordinary palm, and we've been able to collate that data and show the progress of the industry. In 2023, we worked on 3 main topics, so we had 3 sub-teams. One was carbon footprint, one was deforestation, and the third was a glossary of terms, because in this rapidly expanding area, there are many new terms which are not well defined, and we thought it timely to have a lexicon to explain what at least how the industry interprets the terms. Carbon footprint is very close to everybody, our customers, our companies. Everybody has to report carbon footprints, or increasingly has to report carbon footprints. And also everybody with the COP in the air is trying to reduce their carbon footprint. And many of our bigger members have made commitments to reduce their carbon footprint by 2030 or 2050. So again, what we've been trying to do is understand how do you measure carbon footprint in a way which everybody can respect. And then what we hope to do, this will now be a 2024 exercise, will be to collate data to hopefully show how the industry is reducing its carbon footprint. Second one, deforestation. One of the key commodities that the world is concerned about is palm, because of deforestation, particularly in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, and so on. So both the fragrance and flavor industries use a number of palm derivatives. What we did was we provided a list to all the members of what are the most common materials which can be sourced from palm. Often you have dual sourcing, but these are the materials which companies should look at their sourcing because they may well be coming from palm. And what we've also done then is collate, for those who report their mass balance palm versus total palm, collate the industry footprint on mass balance palm. In 2023, when we look at the carbon footprint, we have been working with an organization called Together for Sustainability, TFS, because they have been providing a protocol as to how to measure carbon footprint. And we'll be working with them more closely in the future, because it seems that this is going towards a standard. Even if we don't use exactly their methodology, it's definitely going to inform us in the way we collate our data and what we report. So that's on the carbon footprint. It's really about methodology of gathering data. On deforestation, we worked with 2 organizations. So one indirectly, which is the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO, because they collate data, numerical data, so tons purchased by the companies. So that's been very useful to collate to get that industry footprint. Another organization we've worked with is the Sustainable Vanilla Initiative, SVI. So with vanilla, which is an emblematic crop for the fragrance and flavor industry, the issues are a little bit different. There is a deforestation issue, but there's also an economic issue about how do we ensure farmers get a fair price for the crop. Looking further ahead, the carbon footprint issue remains and will increase in importance, in fact, because we've got the initiatives to put in place for both on the IFRA side and the IOFI side, initiatives on scope 1 and 2 and on scope 3. Deforestation will continue, but it gets harder, in fact, when you look at some of the other crops, because often the usage is lower in our industries. But there are now new emerging issues, and these are issues that we want to get a grasp of. So particularly one is around water footprint. So we talk a lot about carbon footprint, but the emerging one is water footprint. And the other issue that we come across is biodiversity. Things are often linked. Biodiversity is often linked to land change use, which is a key factor often in carbon footprint. So often these issues tend to be linked amongst themselves, but these are two new emerging issues which we get more customer questions about, and we need to start defining an industry position. If we look back at the past, I would say IFRA and IOFI to a degree were very concerned about the chemical safety and the environmental impact of the ingredients that we use. That meaning, are they safe to use? What level is a safe level of use? Environmental, what was their fate in the environment? Do they biodegrade or not? Increasingly, we see that the sustainability aspects of the materials we use are getting a higher and higher profile. Can we make what we're making today in a sustainable way for the future, be it in terms of carbon footprint, be it in terms of what happens in terms of environmental land use, all these factors which were really not considered historically, but now become really almost as important as the chemical safety aspects we've traditionally dealt with.